In the next scene, we see two men talking. The bald man among the men smiled when he looked at a file. The other man asked the bald man about the reason he is smiling. He asked the bald man about the reason he has been looking at the file for a while. He asked the bald man if he wants him to get a weird item again for his business. The bald man smiled and gave his friend the file he was looking at. The file contained information about Kim Woo-jin. The other man could not believe what he was reading about Woo-jin. He could not believe that Woo-jin cleared a dungeon all by himself. The bald man told his friend that Woo-jin has entered his second dungeon alone. He asked his friend if Woo-jin is simply overconfident. The other man could not believe what he was seeing in the file. It did not make sense to him that a newbie was able to clear a dungeon on his own. He told the bald man that he suffered a lot before he was able to clear a dungeon. He asked the bald man if the information was provided by a trusted source. The man asked the bald man if he is gullible. While the two men were talking, a young lady stepped into the room with some coffee. With a horrifying look on her face, the lady asked the man if her report was bad. The man was scared to hear the lady's voice. He told the lady, whose name is Secretary Lee, that her report is perfect. He asked her about where she found such high-quality information. Secretary Lee dropped the coffee on the table with so much force that it made a loud sound. The man was scared to see this. Secretary Lee told the man that the reason the report is perfect is because she is good at her job. The bald man picked up one of the coffees and told the other man that Secretary Lee's information is 100% trustworthy. Immediately he said this, he noticed some instant coffees on the tray which contained the coffee. The man was shocked to see the instant coffees. He screamed at Secretary Lee and told her that he does not like instant coffee. He reminded her that he told her to not buy instant coffee. He asked Secretary Lee to give him an excuse for her behavior. With a calm look on her face, Secretary Lee told the bald man, who happens to be her boss, that she obtained the instant coffee the last time they had a meeting at the Phoenix Guild. She told the man that she made her report on a reusable paper. After hearing how Secretary Lee saved a lot of money, the bald man became calm. He told Secretary Lee that instant coffee is the best, while looking like an incarnate of Buddha. He told the other man that Secretary Lee's information is 100% trustworthy. The man was annoyed to see how stingy the bald man is. He believed that the reason the bald man became bald at a young age is because he is so stingy. After they finished their coffee, the bald man asked Secretary Lee about her progress in purchasing dungeons. Secretary Lee told the bald man that she found some good dungeons, but they were too expensive. She told her boss that she is still looking for other dungeons. The other man was surprised to hear that the bald man was purchasing dungeons. He asked the bald man about the dungeon he already owns. With a bright look on his face, the bald man told the other man that one dungeon is not enough for him to clear. The other man was shocked to hear this. He told the bald man that he just came out of a dungeon yesterday. He told the bald man that he wants to rest well before he enters another dungeon. The bald man dismissed the man's complaints and tells him that a person who is too rested will become lazy. The man was annoyed to hear this. The scene shifts and we see an orc destroy one of Woo-jin's skeleton soldiers while sitting on the corpses of several orcs. Woo-jin said that the durability of his skeleton soldier is poor because his skill is too low. He placed his hand on one of the corpses and said that he learned something important from Johann George in his past life. He summoned another skeleton soldier. He said that as long as his magical stats allows it, he will be able to summon numerous number of skeleton soldiers. Immediately he said this, we see a large amount of dead orcs around him. After Woo-jin defeated the orcs in the area, he leveled up and his poison blood skill increased to level 2. Woo-jin was surprised that he only leveled up once after defeating the orcs in the area. He decided to stop fighting the normal orcs and focus on the orc hunter. After searching the dungeon, Woo-jin was surprised that he could not find the orc hunter anywhere. He made a map of the dungeon on the ground to check where he has been to and to deduce the location of the orc hunter. After searching the dungeon, Woo-jin realized that the orc hunter did not move with the other orcs and it was not in any group. While trying to guess the location of the orc hunter, he noticed that his skeleton soldier was also looking at the map as if it recognized it. Woo-jin did not understand why a soldier was looking at the map. After realizing that the orc hunter does not move with other orcs, he realized that he won't be able to get any skeleton soldiers while he is fighting the orc hunter. Woo-jin realized that the only skeleton soldier he currently has is the one next to him. After guessing the location of the orc hunter, Woo-jin and his soldier decided to hunt it down. The scene shifts and we see an orc dragging the dead body of another orc. This orc is the orc hunter. The scene shifts and we see Woo-jin hiding behind a boulder while holding an arrow that contains his blood. He says that it will be stupid to fight the orc hunter without a plan because it is a dungeon boss with a physical ability that exceeds the average monster. He is certain that he will stand a chance against the monster if he can pierce the monster's skin with his arrow that is coated with his blood. Woo-jin nodded his head to signal his skeleton soldier. Immediately he did this. The skeleton soldier came out of hiding to confront the orc hunter. The orc hunter was annoyed to see the skeleton soldier. It moved back to create some space between it and the skeleton soldier. The skeleton soldier immediately charged at the orc hunter. He attacked the orc hunter with its sword, but the orc hunter blocked it. The orc hunter held the skeleton soldier and tried to bite through its bones. Woo-jin came out of hiding to get a clear shot at the orc hunter. When he saw the bloody red eyes of the orc, he became certain that this is the orc hunter who hunts other orcs. While the orc hunter was focused on his skeleton soldier, Woo-jin shot his arrow at the orc's eyes. The orc hunter got pushed back when the arrow hit its eyes. It immediately grabbed the arrow and removed it from its eyes, unfortunately for it. The poison had already entered its blood. Woo-jin realized that the weaker the area his poison touches, the faster his poison spreads. The orc screamed in pain and lost control of its legs. Woo-jin knew that level 2 of poison blood was not lethal enough to kill monsters, but he was certain that the poison would weaken the monster. His skeleton soldier moved close to the orc hunter and cut off its head. Woo-jin received a notification from the system the moment he killed the orc hunter. The system told Woo-jin that he is leveled up and he will return back to Earth in 1 hour. Woo-jin looked around his surrounding and found the corpse of dead humans. He immediately realized that the orc hunter ate everything that was in its way. He wondered if Yong's corpse was among the corpses that the orc hunter killed. While looking at the different skeleton there, he found an unusual skeleton. The injury that was on the skeleton's body was not caused by the orc hunter. Woo-jin realized that this person was attacked from behind. The person who attacked him is someone who is used to murder. While Woo-jin was not certain if the murder was intentional or not, he knew that if the murder was done by someone in Park Yong-won faction, then it might be intentional. Woo-jin sighed and wondered about how he is going to find Yong's corpses. He wanted to get something that could help him get close to Park Yong-won. While looking around, he sees a shiny object in a cave. He moved close to the cave. When he arrived at the entrance, he realized that the cave entrance is one that is only big enough to allow one person pass through. In the cave, Woo-jin sees a skeleton with an armor and a sword. Woo-jin was surprised to see that this corpse was not damaged like the others, and the sword which it is holding is very clean. He realized that this person must have run away while his comrades were eaten alive. Woo-jin noticed that the corpse kept a tally next to it to count the days until its death. He smiled when he realized that the corpse is Yongyu. He said that there is no place more suitable for Yongyu to die other than here. While searching Yongyu's corpse, a book falls from Yongyu's body. While flipping through the book, Woo-jin finds a page containing the blacklist of Park Yongyu's faction. Woo-jin smiled when he saw the names in the list. He could not believe that he would get something this valuable. He said that he will put it to good use. The scene shifts, and we see that Woo-jin has obtained a legendary skill. Woo-jin was surprised to see that he obtained a new skill. The skill called Eyes of Anubis is one that allows him to take a glimpse into the memory of the dead. Woo-jin was very happy to see the new skill which came at the right moment. He was certain that luck is on his side. He said that the dead cannot speak, but now it does not matter to him. He placed his hand on Yongyu's skull and his eyes began to glow. A black and white light came out of his eyes and entered Yongyu's eyes. Immediately the light entered Yongyu's eyes. Yongyu's memories entered Woo-jin's head. Woo-jin saw how Yongyu left his comrades and ran away. He ran into the cave and began to panic. Woo-jin also saw how Yongyu used to hunt people in dungeons. He told the person he was about to kill that he is safe because Park Yong-won will own the Phoenix Guild one day. After seeing this memory, Woo-jin became disconnected from Yongyu. After using his skill, Woo-jin got a severe headache. He looked at Yongyu's skull and said that looking at a dead man's past is not pleasant. The skill also drained a lot of magic from him. Thanks to the information Woo-jin got from Yongyu and the list, Woo-jin became certain that he will be able to get Park Yong-won. The scene shifts and we see a man getting beaten up. Someone asked the man about how he allowed someone else to clear the orc hunter dungeon. The man apologized to this person. He told the person that he will take care of Woo-jin. The person who was reading a newspaper asked the man how he is going to take care of a newbie who cleared a dungeon by himself. The man told his secretary called Secretary Kim to take care of the man. Secretary Kim apologized to the man reading the newspaper. She told the man who was her boss that she would take care of the problem. Immediately she said this. Two huge men entered the room to drag the beaten man away. The beaten man begged the man reading the newspaper to not kill him. He told the man to give him another chance. The man reading the newspaper said that Woo-jin is competent for conquering the dungeon by himself. He said that Wu Jin is not super amazing. His secretary said that Wu Jin does not have a good reputation in the guild. She told her boss that Wu Jin left his party alone in his first dungeon and he kept all the rewards for himself. Secretary Kim told her boss that all this information about Wu Jin are simply rumors. The man told her that it does not matter if this are rumors because if Wu Jin does not have a good reputation, he won't be able to party with anyone and he won't be able to move forward. While he was speaking, someone tells the man that Wu Jin is here to see him through a telecom. The man drops his paper and we find out that the man is Park Yong-won. Yong-won said that Wu Jin has a lot of courage for him to walk into the lion's den by himself. The scene shifts and we see the manager and his assistant discussing. The assistant manager told the manager that the Phoenix Guild was able to acquire 20 slots in the A+ rank 1 floor dungeon. The assistant manager informed his boss that Park Yong-won faction and 2 other factions are fiercely competing for the 20 empty slots. The assistant manager told his boss that even if each factions get 6 slots each, the 3 factions will still fight for the remaining 2 slots. The manager was annoyed to hear this. His assistant told him that the 3 factions still haven't come to an agreement. The assistant manager told his boss that because the dungeon is A+ rank dungeon, there is a chance that a rare item might appear, and due to the fact that the dungeon is a 1-floor dungeon, the efficacy is good as well. The manager realized that the 3 factions won't give up on the 2 slots because of their confidence. He was annoyed because the people in this factions don't even know what happens in a dungeon. He removed his tie out of frustration and asked his assistant if there is anyone who wants the 2 slots that is not from the 3 factions. His assistant told him that no other person has applied for the 2 slots. The manager was not shocked to hear this. He knew that nobody wants to enter a dungeon without being part of a faction, while thinking of what to do. The manager gets a call from Park Yong-won. The assistant manager was surprised to see this. He did not understand why Park Yong-won would call when things were already complicated. The manager was shocked to hear what Park Yong-won said. He got up from his chair and called out Kim Woo-jin's name. The assistant manager was shocked to see how the manager reacted. He did not understand why the manager called out Woo-jin's name. After the manager ended the call, the assistant manager asked about what is going on. The manager told him that Wu Jin is asking to be put into one of the remaining 2 slots without the other factions knowing. The manager believed that Wu Jin would be perfect for a slot because he likes to work alone and the other factions would not really care about him. The assistant manager asked his boss if Wu Jin has joined Park Yong-won's faction. The manager told him that Park Yong-won might just be using Wu Jin as a card that will be thrown away after he is done in the dungeon. The manager told his assistant that they should not jump into conclusions recklessly. The assistant manager asked his boss about what they are going to do about the remaining slot. He told his boss that the 3 factions will still fight over the slot. The manager revealed to his assistant that Park Yong-won is willing to give up on the remaining slot if Wu Jin is given a slot. All they have to do is mediate things between the other 2 factions. The manager knew that Park Yong-won is a great strategist. He knew that Yong-won might be giving up on the slot in order to benefit next time. He became curious about how Wu Jin was able to meet Yong-won. The scene shifts and we see Yong-won and Secretary Kim talking. Secretary Kim asked her boss about why he accepted Wu Jin's proposal. Yong-won told his secretary that he was surprised that Wu Jin would bring the blacklist and John Yong-gyu's tag to him. He revealed to Secretary Kim that his faction does not have any more useful people, so Wu Jin is perfect. With a smile on his face, he told his secretary that Wu Jin is someone that he can manipulate and throw away once he is no longer useful. 1 hour earlier, we see Wu Jin handing over the blacklist to Yong-won. Yong-won picked up the blacklist and asked Wu Jin if he knows what is inside. Wu Jin told Yong-won that he read the content of the book. Yong-won asked Wu Jin if he came to blackmail in order to get money. He smiled and asked Wu Jin if he believes that he can blackmail him. Immediately he said this, his bodyguards surrounded Wu Jin. Wu Jin told him that he came to give a proposal. He told Yong-won that he wants to enter the A+ dungeon. Yong-won was shocked to hear this. He laughed and called Wu Jin a funny bastard. With a serious look on his face, he asked Wu Jin if he is aware of the dungeon he is talking about. Wu Jin told him that he knows about the dungeon. He told Yong-won that the Phoenix Guild and Messiah Guild are fighting over the limited slots of the dungeon. Yong-won smiled and told Wu Jin that he is insane. He told Wu Jin that he will accept his request under one condition. At Gyeonggu University, a meeting is held to educate the players about the A+ dungeon. Wu Jin wears a hoodie and stands at the back of the hall in order to avoid any attention. A man tells the player that the dungeon contains 1,000 orcs. The dungeon is called Colony of the Orc Champion, and the only way to clear the dungeon is by killing the 1,000 orc and the orc champion. Woo-jin remembered that the people who survived this dungeon in the past were less than 70. In other words, almost half of the participants were killed in the dungeon. Woo knew that only the elite players from each group were gathered in this meeting. It did not make sense to him that half of the elite players here will die from fighting monsters. He became certain that some of the players were murdered. He knew that people might kill each other to reduce their competition and steal items from other players. Woo-jin remembered that the reward for killing the Orc Champion is an item called the Orc Rod's Fong. The reward was given to the Messiah Guild for their huge contribution in the dungeon. Woo-jin did not know anything about it, but it did not make sense to him that the Messiah Guild received the reward. He realized that Se-jun was already evil when he received the reward. Woo-jin stepped out of the hall and decided to leave the meeting. On his way out, Woo-jin realized that even if Se-jun was the one behind the incident, he would never use the Messiah Guild to commit evil publicly. He realized that Se-jun must have planned to spy in another guild. The scene shifts, and we see the players gather to enter the dungeon. The press came to the gate of the dungeon to get a picture of the different guilds. The first guild that entered the dungeon is the Messiah Guild. The next is the Phoenix Guild, the Lion Guild, and the Skull Guild stepped in after the Phoenix Guild. The last person to enter was Woo-jin. Before stepping into the dungeon, Woo-jin decided that he will acquire the Orc Rod's Fong in this life. After they stepped into the dungeon, the Messiah Guild team leader asked the members of his guild to line up at the front. The Messiah Guild members immediately followed his orders. The other guilds were surprised by how quickly the Messiah Guild members got into formation. The Phoenix Guild team leader said that it does not matter if the Messiah Guild are the first to act. He said that there is 1,000 orcs in the dungeon. While the guilds were arranging themselves, an orc comes out from a forest. The tank of the Messiah Guild said that his guild will fight the orc. He activated a skill called Fighter of Tenacious Life to provoke the orc. Immediately he activated the skill. The orc rushed to attack him. The orc tried to punch the man, but the man used a shield to block the attack. The orc was surprised to see that the man blocked its attack. While the man held the orc down, a woman casted a spell to restrain the monster. Immediately she activated her spell. Giant vines came out the ground and held onto the monster. The vines strangled the orc to death. Immediately the Messiah Guild killed the monster. The ground began to tremble. The players wondered if it was an earthquake. A man told the other players that it is not an earthquake. He told them that there is something at the back of the forest. Immediately the players heard this. They got into a defensive position. Suddenly, they see several orcs come out of the forest and rush towards them. The players immediately attacked the orcs. The magicians used a spell to create boulders that crushed the orcs. The orcs became slow due to the boulders that came out of nowhere. The other players used the chance to attack them. While the other players were fighting, Woo-jin looked down at them from a tall tree. He smiled and said that no one will notice if he leaves the group right now. He said that it is time for him to move. Guys, we have come to the end of our video. If you guys want part 4 of this video, let me know in the comments section. Don't forget to like and smash that subscribe button for more recaps. See you guys later.